Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Today I'm doing the video that I think you've all been waiting for, and I've been hoping that I'm going to finish up and be ready to do, which is the one about concealers. And it's my kind of comparison and review. I've got my spreadsheet, look how many notes I've got down there. And I have compared a lot of concealers. I have got about 12 or 13 concealers here. And what I'm going to talk about is I've got concealers for under the eye, I've got concealers that can do under eye and blemishes, and I've got concealers that are just for the blemishes, which is only 2 actually at the end. And I'm going to go through all of these that I've got here. Like I said, there's about 12 or 13. Give you the price, the kind of texture they are, whether they cake or not under the eye mostly, and maybe, you know, any kind of notes, any things that I noticed about them. And then at the end I will give you the best ones for fine lines, the best ones for full coverage, the best ones for budget, that kind of thing, and I'll tell you what my favourite is as well. So I am starting with Rimmel Match Perfection, which looks like that, comes in a tube like that. I have got 010 in ivory, and I really like this application. It's a brush, and you just squeeze it a little bit and then colour comes out on the brush. So that's what the colour looks like. It's a concealer and highlighter, and it says it's a skin tone adapting concealer and highlighter. So because it's a highlighter, you wouldn't want to use this for blemishes. It's just for under your eyes. It is, I would say, a medium texture. When it comes out, it is just like a very thick liquid foundation. It's not a thick one. It's not as thin as some of the others I'm going to discuss. So it is medium texture and medium coverage. What have I put for does it cake? It cakes a little. I think for most of these products, I'm going to say it cakes a little, because there's only 2 that didn't cake at all, and actually only 1 that caked a lot, but this one, it caked a little bit. You know, what I mean by that is in my fine lines, I could kind of see where I'd put concealer. You know, when I looked in the mirror later on in the day, it was kind of where the lines were, you couldn't see any concealer, so it sort of caked around it, which wasn't a very nice look. But I do really like this brush applicator. I love that. This one is £5.99, which I think is a really good price as well. So the only downside to this one is really the brush that I said I loved is kind of a downside too, only because it's very hard to control how much comes out of it, because like I squeezed it just a little bit there and you can see there's quite a lot left on the brush, and then by the time you next go to use it, it's probably a little bit too thick. It does actually change colour, I noticed on my hand, because it was very light when it came out, but you can see actually blending it in, it's not as light as it comes out. So yeah, the brush, hard to control, and maybe it's not as bright as I would like, because it's that skin tone adapting. I assume it's not particularly bright, but otherwise I absolutely love it. The next one I'm talking about, actually the next 2, because they're so similar, there's really nothing between them, is these 2, and they're the pen forms. One is L'Oreal La Touche Magique, and one is Dream Lumie Touch, although you can barely see it. This is a Maybelline one. And they're both exactly the same in that they've got that brush and you twist it up and just put it on like so. This one, let's see if it's still got a colour on it. Doesn't have a colour on it, but it would have been the lightest one. I always buy the lightest one. And then La Touche Magique, let's see what that looks like next to it. Actually, this one is lighter, so the lightest one is the La Touche Magique. And this one is in ivory beige, so that's the 2 swatches there. So you can see that the La Touche Magique one is much, much lighter, and that Dreamy Lune Touch is definitely the lightest colour, but yeah, I'd much prefer that La Touche Magique actually. So what have I said about these? The consistency of these is thin, so it's a thin, fairly light coverage. Maybe light to medium coverage, I would say, because it's definitely not light. You could get some cover with it. They caked a little again, and then let's get this right, the Dream Lumie, which is this one, which was the one that was a bit darker, is £6.99. The La Touche Magique was £8.99, so this one by L'Oreal is more expensive. I would be happy to pay the £8 for this one just because it's lighter, and I want to get as light as possible under my eyes, so for that reason I would choose that. Next is the BareMinerals Stroke of Light. Yeah, BareMinerals Stroke of Light, but I have already done a whole video on this, so I won't talk too much about it other than to say I do love it. This is very unique in that it's the pinkiest out of all of them. Now, I don't know whether that's just because I didn't buy the pink version of some of these, because I tend to go for kind of yellowy ones, but this one, the pink one, was much lighter than the yellow one, so I went for pink. It's called Luminous One, and I'll put a little bit on my hand so that you can see it. I'll try and give you swatches where I can. But this one, like I said, it's very unique because it's got a kind of luminosity to it, which I guess is why it's calling it Luminous 1 is the colour, and then it's Luminous 2, Luminous 3, etc. But this one is the only liquid cream formula, i.e. not powder, that did not cake on me at all. So I was really pleased with that, and I'm very happy with the application. It's probably, I would say, a medium coverage, maybe light to medium coverage, light to medium texture. I really like the packaging. It's very sleek packaging actually. I don't know how long the product will last, that's the only thing. I've got a feeling there isn't an awful lot in here to use, which is why it's a nice little thin tube. Let's have a look. I didn't put that on my list. Yeah, like you've got 7ml in that. This one is only 5ml. But all in all, really good. It's worth the money. Now it's £22 this one if you look at their website or if you go into Debenhams to buy it. However, Beauty Bay do it for £18 including postage. But what you can also do is, I don't know whether every store does it, but certainly John Lewis did it. I went and asked for them to price match to Beauty Bay, and they did. So I got this one for £18, so I was very pleased with that. £4 quite a bit of a difference, isn't it? So that's that one. Next is a powder, and it's the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder that looks like this. This one is £18.50, and it is, as the name suggests, a powder. It's a white powder like that, and it's a white powder with sort of shimmers in it. I don't know whether you'll be able to see anything at all if I put it on my hand. I'll try and put it on and not rub it in. That's what the powder looks like. It is the finest powder I have ever experienced, and it just looks like it's got slight sparkles in it, and it's really nice, really nice. So obviously it's a very thin texture. It's not going to give you any coverage, this one. It is just for brightening. It is for under the eyes. Sorry, I haven't been saying about these. Everything that we've discussed so far is for under the eyes and not for blemishes, or not for everything. And this one is for under the eyes, and you just need to put a little bit on top of your concealer, and it really does brighten. I've got this one on today with, what did I put underneath there? Oh, I've got the collection underneath this. That's what I've got under my eyes today, and I really like this. I absolutely love this. I think I would probably repurchase this. I've decanted it into a tiny little pot to use because I think this will last a long time, because you only need to use the tiniest amounts and it really does brighten. But like I said, this on its own doesn't give any coverage, so I don't think, unless you don't have any dark circles and you really just want to give a slight brightening, you would need to use something else underneath that. Next is BareMinerals Well Rested, which looks like that. She'll show you it inside. I think I might have done a video on this one actually as well. I'll try to get a little bit out so that I can give you a swatch of it, because this one is quite different to the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. This one is a much thicker. This is almost like, I don't know if you can see it, that's it there. This one is almost like a mineral powder, which I guess makes sense because it's from BareMinerals, but it's a thicker consistency and it is a bit more shiny, as opposed to this one is a little bit more almost glittery. This one is a little bit more shiny. For me, when I put it on under my eyes, because I've got lines and I'm not trying to cover dark circles, it did unfortunately cake in the lines and draw attention to the lines. So from that point of view, it wasn't for me, and it's such a shame because I love everything about it otherwise. And I think if I didn't have lines and I just had dark circles, I would love this product, and I can totally see why people do love it. Because I think it's a really good one for dark circles, because there's quite a bit of coverage in it. Again, probably medium coverage in this one, and I think you could use this on its own and it would be enough, and you get the double whammy of its covering and its brightening. So I really like that. The price of this one is £19, and it's just for eyes. This isn't one you could use anywhere else because of the highlighting qualities. Next is the Maybelline The Eraser Eye Perfect and Cover Concealer, which looks like this. And this one is £7.99, and it's got a little sponge applicator. So this is another one where I really like the application actually. It's one that is just for under the eye, obviously, because it's called the Eraser Eye, and you twist it to get some out, and then you just pat it on like that. Now, I love the sponge applicator. I love the liquid, which is probably, again, medium coverage, I would say, on this one. And you can see I've used a fair amount of it, maybe well, not quite a quarter, but I've used quite a bit of this and I do really like it, but it's not bright enough. And I know that in the USA there is one that is a brightening one, and so far I haven't seen that in the shops or online or anything. But if it comes out, I would definitely be getting it and trying it out. But my issue with this one is just this is the lightest colour here, and it's just not light enough to give any brightening effect, which is what I'm looking for. But if you are of a darker skin tone and or are just looking for coverage, then this one might be a good choice, because like I said, it's a medium texture and it gives really good coverage. It cakes a little, I have to say, like, you know, most of them cake a little bit, and when I'm talking about caking, I'm talking about fine lines, and because it's very easy to see something caking if you've got lines, because like I said, you can see the gaps where there isn't anything. But on younger skin, it might still cake, you know, but only a little bit, like I said, and this one is a really, really good choice. Did I tell you the price of this? Yes, £7.99 for that. The next one is the Collection 2000. Well, it's not called 2000 anymore, is it? It's called Collection Last Imperfection. I've noticed that the black writing is rubbing off on my hands, which is kind of annoying, but this one is £4.19, so the cheapest out of the lot. And this one, I love the colour. It's really, really light. It's got a lovely little sort of doe foot wand. And I'll show you the colour, because it's, like I said, very, very bright. But this one, funny enough, isn't geared towards under the eye specifically. This is one you can also use on blemishes, so it's good for all. And it's a very full coverage, I would say, without being too thick though. I would say the texture of it is about a medium texture, but the coverage is pretty full. It did cake a little bit. Like I said, that's what I'm going to say about most of these things. The only thing really that didn't cake is the stroke of light in the liquid formula. This one did cake a little bit, and this is really, really good. I mean, for £4.19, this is amazing coverage, and you know, I don't have anything bad to say about it really. It's really, really good. The next one is the Maybelline Fit Me, which is another one that's very popular on the internet, and this is a swatch of that. This is another one where it's not very light, and I, like I said, always get the lightest one, and that is the lightest one, and it's not light enough for me to give a brightening. But again, if you're just looking for coverage, then that may be absolutely fine if you're not looking for brightening. Or you can use this and then use a brightening powder on top for coverage plus brightening. This one has got probably a medium texture. Let's have a look at the price. £5.99 for this one, so again, pretty good price. Really good coverage. It cakes a little bit. There's not an awful lot between these two, I would say, the Lasting Perfection from Collection and the Maybelline Fit Me. Both are the same. This one is maybe a little bit less full coverage, so if you want something a little bit thinner, maybe go for this one if you don't need that full coverage. And this one is brighter. This one is a little bit creamier as well. It feels a little bit more moisturizing, so if you're a bit dry under the eye, this may be a bit of a better option for you. Next is the MAC Studio Finish SPF 35, which looks like this. It's just a little pot. I can't remember why I used this under my eyes, because it's not for the under eye. This is actually for blemishes. So you can use this for your blemishes and under eyes, but by accident once, I think I was using it because I wanted to clean up after doing eyeshadow. And this was the only thing I had in my bag, and I thought, well, I'll use this and see how I get on. And actually, this is surprisingly good for under the eyes. That's it there. It's not hugely bright, but I would say that it's a thick, full coverage, but it's actually quite a thin consistency, and it's quite a creamy concealer. So again, if you've got dry eyes, this might actually be okay. It might be worth giving it a go. And because it's a MAC product, you could go in and ask for it to be applied under your eyes and then go about your day and see how you get on. You know, they will do that for you. But I just think that this is a really good all-round concealer. If you have blemishes and you want something for under your eyes and you want to buy a multi-use product, this is something I would recommend. The price is £15 for this, so it's quite expensive. It's not a drugstore one, obviously. And, you know, what you could do, of course, is buy 2 drugstore ones if you want one for under eye and one for concealers. But I think this is something worth thinking about. And that was a bit of a surprise to me how good it was under the eyes. Like I said, only caked a little bit. And the next one is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, another one that is very popular on YouTube, and I was really excited to use this, but I have to say this is probably my least favourite, is it, out of all of these? Yeah, this is my least favourite for using under the eye, unfortunately. It's a pump dispenser, so you pump it out And to me that means that it's very hard to control how much you get out, very hard. So that's one tiny little pump, and there is a lot of liquid there. That would be way too much for under my eyes, so I feel like you kind of waste liquid each time. So that's the bad side of it, and it is obviously quite expensive as well, but it's quite light, as you can see, so it will kind of cover the covering and brightening at the same time. And this one is the most full coverage out of all of these, I would say. It's a fairly thick consistency, not thick, thin consistency. It feels like a liquid foundation, but the coverage is very full, and there's the biggest range of colours in these, because obviously you've got the matching foundations to it. So I've got this in NC15, I've also got it in NW20, and NC15 is the lightest one in the kind of yellow range, but the NW15 would be the lightest in the kind of pinky toned ones. So really, really good coverage, but this one caked a lot on me, and I think that's because it's a full coverage product, so there was a lot of caking, and yeah, like I said, this is probably my least favourite. I have just got two left, and these ones are more geared toward blemishes. You couldn't use either of these under your eyes, I don't think. The first one, you can barely see it, but it's the Estee Lauder Maximum Cover. I've still got about half a tube left of this, and I've had it for years and years. And the one before that I had for years and years. I would say that I've purchased two of these in my life, and the first one was when I was about 18. Now, I'm 41 now, so they last me about 10 years, which is ridiculous. You would think that they would dry up and whatnot, but they don't. This, for me, is the best blemish concealer ever. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It kind of sets, it's a liquid when it comes out, of a thick liquid. That's what it looks like. And it's so thick. This was the kind of thing that would cover birthmarks, tattoos, and really bad blemishes. So with the trouble I've had with blemishes over the years, this has been a lifesaver, and I would never be without it. And it's another one of those that I kind of decant into a small pot, and I always keep this on me. I use this for blemishes, and I also use it around my nose sometimes. If I've got really red marks around my nose, I will use this. It is actually a foundation, and I did used to use it as a foundation in my younger years, but even then I noticed that where I've got a lines here, it would kind of make the lines noticeable, like I said, with the caking around the eyes. So this is one that will cake if you're using it as a foundation, or if you were using it specifically under your eyes. But for a blemish cover up, I don't think there's anything better than this. The only thing, oh, I'll tell you the price of this, sorry. This one is £28.50, so it's expensive, and I think there's a bigger range of colours now. There used to only be about 3 different colours, but now there is a bigger range of colours, but definitely worth checking out. And it's another one where you can go in and ask Estee Lauder for a sample of this, and they will give you that, because I did that. Now they've changed the colours, I wasn't sure what colour I was, and I went and got a sample, so that's really, really handy. And then the last one is just a powder foundation, which is, this one is the Prestige Skin Loving Minerals in Fair. But this is what I have used for years on blemishes. That's what it looks like. If I wasn't using my concealer, I would be using a powder, a minerals powder, and it's just so good for covering up red marks and blemishes. And these two together, it means that it will stay on your skin. It won't budge at all. Both of these will last you all day if you've got anything to cover up. I would try to avoid, if you're going to use them together, you would need to be very light-handed with this, because that could end up looking a little bit cakey and kind of gathering around the area that you're trying to cover. But either of these on their own is absolutely brilliant. I would say that this one is a little bit more of a full coverage, so if you had an area that was particularly red and you wanted to tone down the redness, this might be a little bit better. Whereas if it was just slightly red, like I usually use this when the blemishes aren't so bad, so on my chin I will kind of dot this around on blemishes that have more or less healed, whereas when they're really looking red and sore, I would use this because there's a much better coverage. This Prestige one, I haven't put a price for this because I don't know. I mean, I've had this years, and any mineral foundation powder will work on blemishes because I've used many different types, and they're all very good. The only thing I've noticed I didn't tell you from my little list here is how many colours there were in each of the ranges. I should have told you that as I was going along. Mostly it was up to 6 colours maximum, but then you've got things like the Dream Lumie Touch is only a choice of 2 colours, so that's a bit of so it doesn't give you very much choice with the two colours. If you find your skincare hard to match to, then probably the MAC one is the best. That's got a choice of 15 colours, as has the other MAC Studio Sculpt, is it called? Studio Finish Concealer. So sorry about forgetting to tell you that. Okay, so I've told you a bit about each of those, and now I'll tell you what I think is the best for certain things, depending on what you're looking for. So if you are looking for the cheapest one, the most budget friendly one, is going to be the Collection 2000. I have got to stop saying that, it's not Collection 2000, I know, Collection Lasting Perfection. The best one for fine lines would be the BareMinerals Stroke of Light if you're looking specifically for a liquid, but if you don't want to spend that much, then both of these were probably the least cakey for me, and the lightest for fine lines that won't kind of sink in. Like I said, they did cake a little bit, this one didn't at all, but if you don't want to spend this money, either of these would be okay. And also the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder, of course, this does not cake at all, and if you're just looking for brightening and you don't want something sinking into your lines, then this would be a great one. The best ones for full coverage, so for dark circles, and now I can't say that they would cover dark circles because, like I said, I don't really have dark circles, but the ones that were the fullest coverage would be the MAC Pro Longwear. So the people that rave about this, I would imagine, are people that have dark circles, because it's such a good coverage. I would think it would cover them. I can't see any issues with that. And then again, if you don't want to spend the money on that one, both of these are pretty full coverage. This one I would say is would be choice number 2 if I had dark circles and wanted to cover them, or this Rimmel Match Perfection is pretty good as well, and this one is a kind of more skin tone colour, as opposed to this one will give you the brightening and the covering. The best ones for brightening, if all you're after is brightening, then again it's the BareMinerals Stroke of Light, because it's got that sort of luminous shine to it. And or these two powders here, the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder and the BareMinerals Well Rested Powder. If you're looking for something that is a multi-use for blemishes and under the eyes, then I would say this MAC Studio Finish Concealer, or again the Collection. So either of those would be good. If you're looking for something that is to cover dark circles and highlight, I would say the BareMinerals will probably be your best, and you can either use this on its own or you can use something underneath, depending how severe your dark circles are. If you're looking for something to cover blemishes, you've probably gathered by now, these are my favourites. You can either get the Estee Lauder Maximum Cover Foundation or any mineral powder. I think they are the best thing for blemishes. The biggest range of colours, I think I told you, was the MAC one. The best applicator for me is this one. It's the Maybelline Eraser Eye, and I love the sponge. I think that that's really, really good, and particularly because it's just for the eye. I just think it's so easy to use. But like I said, for me, it's not bright enough. So I'm really looking forward to the brightening one coming over here, and I will definitely try it. And maybe they'll have put something in it that means doesn't cake, which would be great. But that's the best applicator in my eyes. So the ones that I'm not going to use up are, there's actually quite a few. I'm not going to use up the Maybelline Fit Me because it's not bright enough. I'm not going to use this one up because it's not bright enough. I'm not going to use the Lasting Collection one because although it is bright, like I said, it does cake on me a little bit. And this black writing is coming off on my hands and that really bothers me, so I'm not going to use that up. I've got plenty here to use. The Dream Lumie Touch is not bright enough, and this one is just way too cakey, the MAC Pro Longwear. So those are the ones I'm not using up, so I will use up my Touche Magique Match Perfection, and then my choice of repurchase currently would be the BareMinerals Stroke of Light and the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. This combination for me is the best combination out of all of these, but I would still say that it's not an area where I'm like, okay, that's me, I'm sorted, I'm never going to look for another under eye concealer, because it's not. There are a couple of things in life like that, but in my makeup life even, but not with this. I would still look for something that was a little bit even brighter than this, that did give me a little bit more coverage, but that didn't sink into my lines. You know, you want it all, don't you? So I'm quite happy to still explore the world of concealers, and like I said, when the Maybelline Brightener comes out, that's the first thing I will be buying. So I hope that that was really useful for you. I hope you found that enjoyable, and there's a lot of information to take in there, isn't there? I hope I did give you all of the information. I've got my little sheet here, but sometimes I forget to look at it. The next one I'm thinking of doing is eyeliners. I could Potentially do it on foundations. I don't have a huge amount of foundations at the moment, and the trouble with foundations is my skin is changing so much at the moment. I'm now going into the more sort of drier area of skin because of my medication, so it might be a bit difficult to do that one. But if there's anything else you would like me to do a sort of compare and review on, then please do let me know, and I will see if I have enough stock to compare things. You know, it can be hair care, skin care, makeup, whatever you like, and I'll see what I can do. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Ah! Oh, thought there was a spider on my feet. But to break halfway down. Oh God, what a fright. Oh God, someone just came through the door and gave me such a fright. Bloody hell. Dark. It is light, actually. That's a load of frigging crap.